You ever meet someone who feels too perfect at first? The chemistry's wild, the connection feels deep, but soon it's chaos. Arguments, confusion, emotional games that leave you questioning yourself. It's not bad luck, it's pattern. In this video, we're breaking down the 8 types of women you should never date and the subtle red flags most men completely miss until it's too late. Stay till the end, because the last one is the most dangerous and the hardest to spot. And hey, if you've ever ignored a red flag thinking it would get better, drop a comment below. You're not alone. Don't forget to subscribe. This one might just save you years of pain.
The illusion of attraction is one of the most powerful and deceptive forces in human relationships. We often call it chemistry, that electric feeling when you meet someone and it feels like you've known them forever. Your heart races, your mind floods with possibilities, and everything about them seems to pull you in. It feels magical, but in truth, that instant connection can sometimes be a signal from your past, not your future. What we think is love at first sight is often our subconscious recognizing something familiar, something that mirrors the emotional patterns we've carried for years. It's not destiny, it's repetition. We are drawn to people who reflect our wounds because part of us is trying to replay the story, hoping this time it will finally end differently. When you've experienced rejection, abandonment, or chaos in past relationships, especially in childhood, your nervous system becomes wired to see instability as intensity. That means when someone makes you feel on edge, uncertain, or emotionally hungry, it doesn't necessarily feel wrong. It feels alive. You mistake anxiety for attraction and confusion for passion. The person who triggers your insecurities might also awaken your deepest longing, the desire to finally be chosen, understood, or loved in the way you were once denied. That's why the most dangerous relationships often start with fireworks. You're not meeting a soulmate, you're meeting a mirror. This is what psychologists call trauma bonding, the emotional glue that forms between two people through cycles of pain, hope, and intermittent reward. It's addictive because your brain releases dopamine and cortisol in waves. One moment you're comforted, the next you're anxious. That up and down rhythm mimics the emotional climate of a wounded past. You tell yourself it's passion, but it's actually your nervous system reliving an old survival pattern. You feel magnetically drawn to the person who subconsciously resembles the parent who withheld love, the ex who made you chase validation, or the emotional distance you never understood. And because your mind craves closure, it tries to win this time by loving the same energy that once hurt you, hoping that if they finally love you back, the old wound will heal. But that's the trap. The instant spark is often not a green light. It's a red flag disguised as excitement. True emotional safety doesn't rush. It builds. It's calm, steady, and sometimes even a little boring at first, because peace doesn't activate the same survival chemicals that chaos does. Yet that's the irony. What feels boring when you're unhealed is actually what healthy love feels like when you've grown. It's not the high and crash of adrenaline. It's the quiet confidence of being seen, respected, and emotionally safe. So when you meet someone and your whole body lights up with intensity, pause. Ask yourself, is this connection awakening my peace or my pain? Remember, she doesn't feel like home. She feels like your old wound dressed in perfume.
The 8 archetypes of chaos represent the patterns of emotional dysfunction we often mistake for love. Each of these women carries her own brand of intensity, charm, and confusion. And if you're not self-aware, you can easily get caught in their storm, believing it's passion. These archetypes aren't about judgment. They're mirrors that help you understand why some relationships drain you while others help you grow. Let's walk through them one by one, not to condemn, but to recognize the patterns that keep you stuck in emotional loops you don't deserve. The drama addict thrives on emotional turbulence. Silence feels like rejection, calm feels like boredom, and peace feels unsafe. She subconsciously stirs conflict just to feel connection. One moment she's passionately in love, the next she's cold or distant, keeping you hooked on unpredictability. You think you can calm her storm, but she's addicted to the lightning. The emotional leech doesn't want love. She wants rescue. She pulls you into her pain and makes you feel responsible for fixing it. Her validation comes from being saved, and yours comes from feeling needed. At first, it feels like deep intimacy, but soon you realize you've become her emotional caretaker. No matter how much you give, it's never enough. The narcissistic queen is magnetic and confident, but everything revolves around her world. She craves admiration, not connection. Her attention is intoxicating until you realize it's conditional. The moment you stop feeding her ego, she withdraws affection or punishes you with silence. Loving her feels like a performance you can never perfect. The victim saint always suffers, and always has a story to prove it. Every failed relationship, every problem somehow isn't her fault. Her pain becomes her identity, and sympathy her currency. You stay because you feel guilty leaving someone who's been through so much. But the truth is, she's more committed to her wounds than her healing. The control freak disguises her fear of vulnerability as order and structure. She doesn't trust love, she manages it. You'll feel like you're constantly walking on eggshells, trying to meet expectations that keep changing. Her control gives her comfort, but it suffocates connection. You don't share a relationship, you follow a rule book. The ghost artist is the master of disappearing. She's mysterious, emotionally distant, and always halfway gone. Her absence becomes her allure. You chase her because she never fully lets you in, and that chase becomes addictive. But no matter how close you think you are, she'll always vanish when things get real. The attention hunter needs the spotlight to feel alive. Every post, every compliment, every flirtation is a hit of validation. She's not necessarily disloyal, just never satisfied. You'll compete with her audience for affection, and no matter how much attention you give, she'll still crave more. The Fix Me project seems fragile, broken, and sincere. She pulls you in with vulnerability and the illusion that your love can save her. You see potential, she sees a lifeline. But healing isn't something you can do for someone. In trying to fix her, you slowly lose yourself. Each archetype offers intensity, not intimacy. They mirror our unhealed parts and teach us where we still confuse love with chaos. Recognizing them isn't cynicism, it's clarity. When you stop chasing emotional storms, you finally make space for peace to stay.
Red flags rarely come waving in bright red. They often arrive disguised as warmth, intensity, or even vulnerability. When a woman's behavior triggers confusion or discomfort, most men don't walk away. They rationalize. She's just passionate. She's been hurt before. She'll change once she feels safe. These aren't just excuses, they're defense mechanisms, ways the mind protects you from confronting emotional truth. Because admitting something is wrong means facing disappointment, loss, and the uncomfortable reality that love alone can't fix everything. So instead of setting boundaries, you convince yourself it's love, when really it's fear of being alone or fear of failure keeping you in place. We rationalize red flags because they echo the patterns we grew up with. If chaos was your normal, calm feels foreign. If love once meant earning approval or walking on eggshells, you'll confuse unpredictability with excitement. The brain craves what it knows, not what's healthy. And that's how dysfunction feels familiar, even comforting. The human mind loves consistency, even when that consistency is pain. So, when someone treats you in ways that match your early emotional experiences, you interpret it as connection. You tell yourself, it's complicated because we're passionate, or she just needs to heal. But what you're really saying is, I'd rather repeat the past than face the void of peace. Psychologically, this is called cognitive dissonance, the mental tension of holding two conflicting truths. One part of you sees the problem clearly, the other part refuses to believe it. To ease the discomfort, your brain rewrites the story. Her jealousy becomes love. Her manipulation becomes fear of losing you. And her disrespect becomes emotional intensity. You create explanations to protect your hope because hope feels safer than heartbreak. You want the relationship to make sense, even when it doesn't. Another layer of denial comes from emotional investment bias. The more time, effort, or love you've poured in, the harder it is to walk away. You tell yourself, I've already come this far. Maybe things will get better. But red flags don't fade with time. They just blend into the background of your comfort zone. That's why the most dangerous relationships aren't always the loud, dramatic ones. They're the slow fades, the subtle boundary crossings, the small compromises you keep making until you don't recognize yourself anymore. By the time the truth hits, it's not that you didn't see the warning signs, it's that you explained them away. You believed potential over reality, promises over patterns. You thought understanding her pain would make her love you more, but empathy can't replace accountability. The hardest lesson to learn is that love doesn't require you to lose yourself. The moment you start making excuses for why you're being drained instead of fulfilled, you're not in love, you're in denial. Because red flags don't disappear, they just blend into the color of your denial.
The cost of ignoring the signs is never paid all at once. It's collected quietly, piece by piece, until one day you realize the version of yourself you once knew is gone. When you stay in a relationship that drains you, your peace becomes the first casualty. At first, it's subtle, a little anxiety when your phone buzzes, the constant guessing of her moods, the endless need to prove your worth. You tell yourself it's temporary, but things will calm down, that love takes effort. But over time, you start living in emotional survival mode. Your nervous system stays on alert, waiting for the next argument, the next cold silence, the endless apology that never changes anything. You don't rest anymore. You brace. Soon, you start doubting yourself. You begin questioning your memory, your reactions, even your basic sanity. You replay conversations in your head, trying to figure out what you did wrong, how you could have said it better, how to avoid another emotional storm. Her disapproval starts to feel like a moral failure, and you forget that love isn't supposed to feel like walking through a minefield. You lose confidence in your instincts, because every time you spoke up, it somehow turned into your fault. That's how manipulation works. It doesn't just twist your perception of her, it rewires your perception of yourself. Then comes the erosion of identity. You start editing your personality just to keep the peace. You laugh less, express less, shrink a little more each day until you fit into the version of yourself that feels safest around her. You stop doing the things that made you feel alive because they might cause conflict. You hide parts of yourself that used to shine. It's not that she took your identity, it's that you gave it away one compromise at a time, thinking it was the price of love. But love that costs your peace isn't love. It's control disguised as connection. And the hardest truth is emotional chaos can become addictive. When pain becomes familiar, your body mistakes it for intensity. You start to crave the highs and lows because they make you feel something, even if that something is destructive. The unpredictability keeps you hooked. One moment you're broken, the next you're soothed, and that cycle mimics the same chemistry as addiction. You confuse relief with love and absence with meaning. That's why leaving doesn't just feel sad, it feels like withdrawal. In the end, you don't lose her. You lose yourself trying to keep her. You lose the man who used to have clarity, humor, confidence, and peace, the one who could rest without fear. But here's the quiet redemption. The moment you choose peace over chaos, your soul starts to remember who it was before it learned to beg for love. Healing isn't about winning her back. It's about coming home to yourself again.
The healing lesson comes when you finally realize that love isn't supposed to hurt more than it heals. After years of emotional chaos, the first encounter with a healthy, grounded woman might feel strange, even dull. There are no games, no emotional roller coasters, no unpredictable highs that keep you hooked. Instead, there's calm, consistency, and honesty. And for someone used to confusion, that peace can feel like emptiness at first. You might even mistake it for a lack of chemistry, when, in truth, it's your nervous system learning what safety feels like for the very first time. When peace feels uncomfortable, it's time to heal, not chase chaos. A healthy woman won't make you guess her intentions. She'll communicate clearly, not to control, but to connect. She doesn't use silence as punishment or affection as reward. You don't have to earn her love by walking on emotional glass. It's offered freely, without manipulation or guilt. She won't make you feel like you have to compete for her attention or apologize for your needs. Instead, she'll meet you where you are and help you grow without tearing you down. In healthy love, boundaries aren't threats, they're forms of respect. Arguments still happen, but they're grounded in understanding, not destruction. You both listen to repair, not to win. There's space for individuality, for both of you to have your own lives, passions, and peace without guilt. And the more you experience this kind of relationship, the more you realize that love isn't supposed to make you anxious. It's supposed to make you feel safe, enough to be your full self. But to experience this, you have to unlearn your addiction to intensity. That means recognizing that the butterflies you used to chase weren't signs of love. They were symptoms of fear. True connection won't trigger your fight-or-flight response. It will calm it. Real love is steady, patient, and kind. It's not about proving your worth, but sharing your truth. It's not fireworks that fade. It's a slow, steady flame that doesn't burn out. Healing shifts your definition of attraction. The loud, dramatic energy that once pulled you in will start to feel draining, while quiet confidence will feel magnetic. You'll stop craving the unpredictable and start valuing the consistent. You'll stop chasing apologies and start appreciating emotional safety. And most importantly, you'll understand that love isn't about fixing or saving anyone. It's about growing together without losing yourself. Healthy love feels simple, not because it lacks depth, but because it doesn't depend on pain to prove its meaning. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present. When you reach that place, you no longer mistake chaos for connection. You stop settling for intensity and start choosing intimacy. And that's the real victory. Learning that peace doesn't mean something's missing. It means you finally found what you were always looking for. Home. Not in another person, but within yourself.